of Oxford Board of Trustees regular meeting, Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. May we all please rise and pay respects to the flag.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Noting of the roll.
Noted, there is a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. And I would like to amend the agenda, and I would like to add item 12J. And the 12J item is Master Plan Steering Committee Compensation.
12J.
12J, Master Plan Steering Committee
Oh, I see,
Compensation.
okay.
I'll make a motion for the agenda as amended.
Second. I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Knowles. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, hearing none.
Should that be a vote because it involves money?
Yes.
Oh, not that,
An
just for the
individual
agenda.
or not?
No,
Oh,
not
no, at the, not amending the agenda doesn't,
Okay.
when we talk about that topic.
Okay.
Yep.
not part of it.
Okay, item number 5, open session.
I'll make a motion to be an open session, entertain a motion, take a roll call vote regarding calling a closed session for following purposes. To consider confidential legal opinion in accordance with MCL 15.268H and MCL 15.243L and G.
Second. I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Nold. Are there any questions? Seeing none, roll call please.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Okay, members of the audience, camera person, we have a closed session. We should convene after we talk about this one subject, and you're all welcome back at that Okay, item number 6, approval of the consent agenda.
We gotta
You
make a
gotta
motion.
make a motion.
Oh,
I move to accept the settlement offer made by Brinker to authorize the township supervisor to execute the settlement and release regarding the same.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Colvin. Are there questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright? Supervisor Curtis?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to allocate funds, if approved, to the police contracting fund for the above mentioned settlement.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari. I'll second that motion. Any questions?
This is protocol we've done in the past?
We've never had it this way for what we get the money.
We're still making a motion to where the money goes.
Correct.
Where did you say?
Police contracting,
Except for the 5,000.
Correct. Very good, Mark.
which would be for general fund.
Yeah,
I'll
for the
amend-
legal fees.
I'll amend my motion where, can we state the amounts, Brittany?
Yes.
They're $15,000 for the police contracting fund, $5,000 for the general fund.
And I'll second my motion. Okay, questions. I'll start with Trustee Charles.
So what's the impact of $15,000 versus the general fund? What's? how does that
It
work?
provides policing services.
We need to reduce our obligation, I know what we're talking about, but what's the impact of that? Just cover some of our costs?
Yes.
Our legal fees.
And then the 5,000 for these legal fees. Clerk Wright?
Two motions on the floor, and must vote on the amendment before the main motion.
So we vote on the wrong one first.
We vote on the one to allocate the 5,000 off of the 20,000 first, and then you vote the second one. So you probably approve the second one and vote the first one down. Correct?
Okay.
So, Recording Secretary?
Roll call on the first
Correct, or you
motion.
could vote the first motion down and make a new motion the way it should be.
Okay.
That's up to you.
Okay, we'll take a roll call on the first motion.
The original motion.
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Colvin?
No.
Trustee Payne?
No.
Trustee Charles?
No.
Clerk Wright? No. Treasurer Ferrari?
No.
Trustee Noel?
No.
And Supervisor Curtis?
No. Okay, the second motion, would you read it again, Treasurer Ferrari, please?
To authorize for the $20,000 settlement, $15,000 is allocated to the police contracting fund, $5,000 is for general fund.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Now, are there any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright? No. And Trustee Charles?
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis?
Yes. Okay, now we'll move on to item number 6, approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, roll call.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Clerk Wright? Yes. And Supervisor Curtis?
Yes. Item number 7, public comments on items not on the agenda. Any members of the public like to speak on items not on the agenda? Seeing none. Board of Trustee comments. I'll start on the right tonight. Trustee Colvin.
I have no comments at this time.
Trustee Payne.
I have nothing to say.
Trustee Noel.
No comment at this time.
Treasurer Ferrari.
No comment at this time.
Man, you guys are good.
We got it at the too.
Yeah, I have one comment. I want to thank Susan for working very hard and diligently. She turned into our payroll ADP. ADP files with the state the retained employee credit and in the amount of $200,000 approximately. ADP forwards that on to the state within 90 days. We will have our recommendation, and I've been told that the state basically kind of puts the money out there a little bit at a time. But a lot of hard work went into it. Thank you, Susan, for getting our earned retention credit, the amount of approximately $200,000. I know the fire department is working on theirs, and they should have theirs in shortly. Other than that, Clerk Wright.
Just so people is aware, tomorrow Chamber of Commerce is having their business expo. It's from 3 to 6 o'clock at the Boulder Point, I believe, for that. And tomorrow, the clerk's office is going to Oakland County, so our office will be vacant from 1:30 on. We don't know when we're coming back, but we're going down there to finalize the 9-day early voting contract with Oakland County and participating municipalities, which will include Orion, Oxford, and Addison at this point, with what we're trying to do for early voting to get a centralized location. And right now, it's proposed for Orion Township at this point. So these are meetings we are obligated to go to, and we have to go to keep up with the changes that have been put in place for proposal 22-2. And those are my comments.
Okay, well, we will have support for the clerk's
Appreciate
department
that.
tomorrow. Thank you. Trustee Charles.
First of all, thanks to Danielle on the MTA conference. For those of us who are going, I appreciate the follow-up in the organization. The other thing, on the next board meeting we have, I'd like to have an item placed on the agenda. Is this the appropriate time to request that, Supervisor Curtis?
Sure is.
I'd like to get back into the single waste hauler issue that we discussed for the last whatever months it's been. So if you can put that on the agenda, I appreciate it.
Okay.
And then a quick question too on the food truck ordinance. Does that include a timeline for when somebody can have a truck parked? Does anyone know off the top of their head?
You mean the length of time?
Right.
No, it does not include that in the ordinance.
Is that something we should look at doing at some point?
Um,
In other words, could someone potentially park a truck there for 3 weeks and say they've met all the requirements, or should we put a 12-hour timeline on it for parking the truck there?
Yes, they can. And should we put a time limit on it? I don't know, how would we do that? Would we bring it up as a board item?
You
Yes.
Yeah, you would actually, seeing it's an ordinance, you would present it back to the board, and then the protocol we're following now is that entertain whether or not the board would want to set a first reading at a future meeting for an amendment to in this case, the mobile food establishment ordinance.
Does that make sense? What's the protocol for doing that then? That would come to your office, Mr. Curtis?
I'd put it on the agenda, and we'd have to approve the revision of the ordinance.
Okay, would you do so?
Yep. We'll do that. By the way, we do have 2 complaints right now.
Really?
Yep.
Should this be a time, well,
Okay,
Mr. Can we have a conversation on that right
no,
now? Okay.
we'll have one. This is not on the agenda. Okay, is that it, Trustee Charles?
that's it for now.
Thank you, sir. Item 9, Fire Department. Chief?
Good evening, everybody. Just
Evening.
some real brief updates. Chief Esper and I went to the MTA public safety event yesterday up in Frankenmuth. The MTA did a very nice job of presenting issues relative to the fire and EMS services and recruitment and retention and things of that nature here in Michigan because of the shortage that so many departments are experiencing, ours included. But it was a very good, very informative event. It was a long day, but it was definitely worth the time and the trip up there. We are also waiting to hear back on, we've been working with ADP as well on the retained credit stuff, so hopefully we'll have some decent idea here in the very near future. And then the last 2 items, and just for everybody's awareness and hopefully get everybody out and get some people. October 8th, we will be having our annual open house at the fire station on Lapeer Road, headquarters that is, noon to 4 on October 8th. And then as usual, and just put it out there early, because 'tis the season, right? Cider and Donuts will be once again at, on Halloween evening. And we will start that about an hour before, kind of, or right around the time trick-or-treating ends. And that's up to you folks, so, as you know, so, just to,
All stations,
Both
right?
stations.
well, it'll be at both stations, yeah, for the cider and donuts, yeah, but the open house will only be at
Right.
headquarters, yeah, so.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the chief? I have one.
Yes, sir.
How's the fire truck coming along?
Wait, are you talking about the ones we've ordered?
The
That
one
was,
we paid for?
well, that one we still got about 40 months for delivery.
40 months?
About 40 months, yeah.
What's your hurry?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the one we ordered last year. I think we're still at about 28 months out. And the ambulance that was supposed to be here before Christmas, if we're lucky, might be here by June of next year. Which we're still in the process of, obviously, through our capital improvement plan and trying to replace all the ambulances, because as you know, they're all over 10 years old, they're all over 150,000 miles. So we're working diligently on trying to, we've got an ambulance committee and we're evaluating what's gonna be the best route and try and get us on a much better rotation of stuff, right? So, we are working on some grant stuff throughout northern Oakland County with other departments, a large consortium grant that we're trying for. And then we had submitted that grant earlier in the year for reimbursement for equipment that we've purchased. I checked today, some departments have gotten notice, and ours has worked its way up to its under review. And so far I've not heard of anybody getting denied, but there's always a first, so, but that one's for 10 grand, so,
Thank you.
but yeah.
Trustee Charles?
Would this be a good time to ask him about this food truck ordinance time issue, or
No.
should we wait? Okay.
We'll wait. Any other questions for the chief? Hearing none, thank you, chief.
Thank you.
I gotta take a quick break here for a minute because I told our supervisor from the south that our meeting started at 6:30. And in camaraderie and spirit of the Orion-Oxford football game, last time we won, I took the jersey down to Orion, and Supervisor Barnett gratefully wore it. Oh, you brought the biggest one you had.
That's the biggest one we make, I think.
Yeah. So what the spirit of this is if Orion wins, I get to wear the Orion jersey at a township board meeting. If Oxford wins, he wore the jersey. So gracefully,
I bring greetings from the southern regions of Oxford. And I'm sorry, my hair's wet. I just got out of the dunk tank. It's
I
cool.
heard about the Speedo.
yeah.
I saw your wife there, but yes, it was a great game, and
Let me come around the front.
yeah, you guys started early. I actually was on time someplace.
Yes, I know that. And I thought, shoot, he's not here. He might not show up. So I said I would wear this. How are we going to get this on? This is the biggest jersey they make
It is.
in Oregon. Oh,
This is going to be the hard part. This part here.
nah, this is the good part.
Look at that. He looks good, doesn't he?
Yeah.
All right.
How about with the board?
Yeah.
So the board supports the rivalry between Oxford and Orion. I thank my friend from the south.
All right. Perfect.
Perfect.
These will never show up at any Orion Township State of the Township address, I promise.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for the work you guys do. Good to see you.
Don't take off yet, Chris.
All right.
I just want to tell the board that in this wonderful, fun things we do, we learn a lot from each other. Chris has been very responsible and helpful to Oxford. We don't have to steal anything from him, from ideas. He gracefully gives it to us. And we've made a lot of improvements over the year from learning from other townships, and Chris is one of them. Chris leads our OCATs, which is the Oakland County Association of Township Supervisors, where we meet and discuss legislative matters. We learn how to do things through different governmental organizations. Chris was the chairman of SEMCOG. Chris is very active in a lot of activities around the state of Michigan, so he's very helpful to Oxford and North Oakland Strong. So I thank you. Very proud to wear this. I hope it doesn't stain my shirt.
Can I make a recommendation though, that the next time it's a swim meet, you guys better?
It's a great relationship. Thank you, Jack, and thank you all. We're grateful to have amazing partners with Oxford, and we have a lot of fun, but we're doing a lot of great things. And Jack has been a stalwart for Northern Oakland County, and absolutely the hospital project, and we're doing the best we can to try to support in that effort as well. So thanks for being a good sport, great, even a better neighbor, and great friend. So thank you all, and we're happy to help whenever we can. So
Thank you.
yep. I gotta take that. I have to take this picture now.
Yeah, now you have to. Chris is coming from the dunk tank
Yeah.
for the
Real men wear pink.
Real Men Wear Pink for the
It's
breast
happening in
cancer.
Washington Square right now. So
Yeah.
is that what it's called?
Yes,
Yeah. So all right. Thanks everybody. Have a great meeting.
Thanks,
Good
Chris.
to see you.
Get back in the tank.
it's a DDA thing, Chris.
All right, thank you for allowing me to take that break. Item number 10, Sharp Engineering Report. Everybody got the report in their package. Are there any questions? I have just one. Where are we at with the safety path on North Oxford Road and Ray Road? How long till we complete that?
So the rest of the asphalt was placed today. There's a small stretch in front of the Meyer gas station. That portion was placed today. So the only real pathway items left to do are the ADA ramps at the driveways. There's 6 of them total. The exit and the entrance to the student parking lot, and then where the bus drive is. They were originally scheduled to do that today, but they didn't get there. So they're supposed to be there tomorrow morning first thing. And then after that, it's just restoration.
Okay. I want to thank Jim. This has been a real royal pain. We were slighted out of some federal funds. The Safety Path Committee jumped up, got on it, but Jim's been working hard. Superior Excavating, along with C&M Trucking and Excavating, along with Levy Company, I can't call them a corporation, donating the 12,000 tons of gravel. It's just been Ryan Austin with BSI. It's been monumental. We put this path in. It'll be about a month now since we approved the funding, and it's almost done. It's
Wow.
5,200 feet.
Yeah, it's a mile, it's 5,200 feet.
It's a mile of safety path.
That's
So,
amazing.
thank you to Jim, all of our contractors and the Safety Path Committee. When we bust hump, we make tears, but we still make things happen. So thank you.
Thank you, I'll pass that along to them. Any other questions?
Good job.
Jack, with Jim's report, so we can put that on our website. It's so informative. It'd be nice if people could go on our website and say, oh, this is what the township's doing.
I will put that on the things to do. Website, engineer report. Thank you, Jim.
All right, thank you.
Okay, unfinished business, number 11. Item A, committee compensation. Nancy Oland is here. Along with the compensation committee, we've been meeting, took back the charge to come up with committee understanding of committee compensations. Nancy, do you want to?
Absolutely. Do we have the,
PowerPoint?
Yeah.
We do.
it's nice to see all of you again. Thank you for having me back. Tonight, really what I'm going to do is, I'm sure that all of you probably know the majority of this. I'm going to go over some of the basics of it and really talk about compensation for the board, what kinds of compensation are available, how you determine what those compensations are. Basically, we want to talk about what you can do, what you can't do, and then what the recommendations were from the committee so far. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is different ways you can be compensated. Great, so you can be compensated via a salary. All board members are eligible to receive a salary, and that salary covers your statutory duty performance. There's also per meeting or per diem pay. That's available only to trustees, and you can have one but not the other. The other pay of obviously reimbursement, which would follow along policies for extra expenses, and we'll talk about each one of these. Then there's non-statutory duty pay, which can be the most confusing one of all of them. And then finally, you can have, as a trustee, you can be paid a combination of any and all of the above. Officers are restricted to pay salary pay for their performance of their statutory duties, which is pretty much everything. So there are limited opportunities for additional income, but not really. All right, so let's talk about how you determine what the salary is. There are three main methods. One is an annual meeting, which I'm listing just to be comprehensive, but it's really not available to charter townships anymore. That's only an option available to general law townships. The other one is a compensation committee, which goes into setting up an actual committee made up of residents that determine the compensation. They set it, it gets voted on. It's a very cumbersome process, not used by very many townships, less than 4% across the state. What Oxford currently does and what the majority of townships do is they use the township board resolution method. So it's not tied to a fiscal year. I know that we're doing this in preparation for your budget year. It's not tied to anything. There are certain restrictions, but in general, you can set compensation at any time that you would choose to by resolution. All right? I don't have my glasses, so I have to look at my own notes. So which meetings can be compensated? So obviously, the Board of Trustee meetings can be compensated. Also, meetings that you might attend for other statutory bodies like the zoning board or the planning commission. Generally, if pay is provided to the members of those commissions, it's favored that a board member would be given pay for that as well. Also, Board of Trustee committee meetings, and we'll talk about those a little bit in the setup of those, but you can be compensated for Board of Trustee committee meetings that the board establishes. And then other pre-approved meetings where you might not be a member of that governing body, but you need to attend on behalf of the township for some reason. The examples in here are pretty good ones. If you have to attend the single hauler meeting so that you can come back and report to the board about what was going on. Or during COVID, if there were special meetings that a member might have went to, with the health department, and you're coming back and informing, those types of meetings. And we'll talk about that, but generally they're pre-approved meetings and then you're compensated for them when you achieve the goal of what you're there to attend. So when we talk about township committee compensation, as you know, the board sets subcommittees. This report is a product of the compensation subcommittee. Those committees should be formed. When they are formed, who's going to serve on it should be set, what the goal is, if there is any compensation, and for what. At that time of the formation is when those formalities should be ironed out. Being careful that when you are designing a committee, obviously if you have 4 board members, that subjects you to Open Meetings Act, notice requirements, meeting requirements, and things like that. As it stands, if a subcommittee in an advisory capacity, you don't need to have the public notice and such, but you would need to report back to the full board based upon what the purpose of that subcommittee was. Any questions so far? I don't want to whiz through. Okay. All right. Obviously, reimbursement. This is limited to actual expenses and should follow the written policy, which is being reviewed as well, and making sure that we're in compliance. Things like mileage for attending meetings can be included if that's part of the reimbursement policy, with the exception of you can't receive mileage for coming to the Board of Trustee meeting. That's just part of the job. And then there should be a reconciliation of expenses that are paid back to board members, at least monthly. That should be the general rule. All right. Any questions on reimbursement? Okay, so non-statutory duty pay. This is the one that gets the most questions. Generally, and the first question to ask is going to be, is this additional service outside of the statutory duties? It needs to be outside of the statutory duties for it to be considered non-statutory duty pay. So when you think of this, we think of like quasi-like employees. So it might be that one of you steps in to perform a service that is normally done by an employee. The examples that MTA likes to use are if somebody's gonna do a part-time job working at one of the plants and you're gonna be available to work the pump. You're gonna be paid like an employee because that's not part of your statutory duty. The question that comes in though that has to be asked is, when we say this is a non-statutory duty, is doing this work in any way part of my statutory duty? So, for example, trustees' duties are listed as pretty vague, but it requires voting on everything and making sure that the bills get paid. So you have to make decisions about how the township operates, right? So the preparation of getting ready to make those decisions is within the statutory duty. That's the question to ask. Does this fall outside the purview, or is this just something that I have to do in order to be prepared to execute my duties? So that's an easiest way to look at it. The other caveat for non-statutory duties is after you've crossed that first threshold question, is you want to ask, is there a potential violation of other laws? One being conflict. You can't be a part of a contract that you might benefit from. And then also you can't be a subordinate or a superior to another elected official. So you can't mingle those. Those would be red flags to look for. Is there to be a violation or conflict of interest there? All right. So any questions on that so far? You can go to the next. That was just there in case you asked me what the duties were.
Okay.
Yep. And you can keep going again. Yeah. So here we are. This is just a calculation of looking at how do we come up with deciding what is an appropriate or fair pay for Board of Trustee members. So look back at the 2022 meeting schedule. And there were a total of about 15 meetings. 3 of those were special meetings and 12 of those were your regular meetings. So if you look at what the general pay was for that, and if you average, just add it up, you're getting paid for 15 meetings. If you divide that out, you can count it out to you're getting about $160 an hour. Your perspective on that can be, is it $160 per hour to attend the meeting, or if you look at the course over the year, you would consider, okay, about an hour and a half of prep for each meeting, then you're looking at more like a $60 an hour, and you're being paid for the prep time, sort of it's built in. So it really just depends on how you want, what approach you want to take to look at it. And you can look at numbers, and if we look at your shortest meeting, which was 6 minutes, then we would say you'd be making about $1,600 an hour, right? Whereas if you looked at your longest meeting, which was about 2.5 hours long, you'd be looking at about $64 an hour. So it really just depends on how you want to slice and dice and compare preparation time versus just actual meeting time. But however you slice it
Post-work
up.
also, correct?
Pardon?
Post-work?
Absolutely, yeah, because that's going to be part of tying it together as part of the duties, yep. So we looked at that to look and see, okay, what would be a good recommendation? And what the committee proposed was to continue with the regular meeting rate of $160 for Board of Trustee meetings. And then other statutory bodies, those range from $125 to $135. And township committee meetings, which range from $135 to $300. And as the board exercises its discretion, things like how complex is this committee, how much prep time is built in, questions like that can be asked when you determine what the rate for those particular meetings is. All right? It does not have to be the same for all meetings. It can vary based upon complexity and level of involvement. So that is the recommendation. And the next steps would be through September and October, revisiting these adjacent policies, the reimbursement policy, the non-statutory duty policy for when you're assigning committees. Make sure all that is tightened up in the way the board wants it to be over the next couple of months. And then be prepared for November when you set the employee compensation for the coming year, as well as issue any new resolutions that might be necessary for Board of Trustee pay as well. And those will be our next steps. So if you have any questions, I can do my best to try to answer them.
Yes, one other thing we had to do on the next step was to we have another assignment that we have to propose to this board, is the policy for reimbursement for doing duties that are non-statutory. For example, Margie, you're on the Safety Path Committee, but we want to put you on the lawn mowing committee. You're not, that is not a statutory duty. But if you elect to do it, we have to have a policy says, okay, you're gonna get $50 an hour, you're gonna do it in 2 hours, and you're gonna do it for 20 weeks. So we have to set a rate. We have,
I accept.
so we're going to work on a policy that says if John works down in Pontiac on something with the Pontiac government, we're not in a committee, but we have a policy in place to reimburse people to work for Oxford Township in a non-statutory job, but bring information and results back to the community through required board action and approval.
Yeah, and that's a critical component of it, because one of the things the law does talk about is you need to have these plans and processes in place prior to approving the payment and such. So just want to make sure those policies are all shored up so that you're,
So I have
I's
a
dotted,
question.
T's crossed.
What is your question, Trustee Charles?
Well, on this sheet you put together, you said depends on the complexity and the commitment.
Mhm.
Who determines that?
It would, so if you have a committee where you know that it's going to be very labor intensive, lots of
My question is, who
analysis.
determines it?
The board has the discretion, so as you're deciding what that committee is, there could be discussion about, well, this is the kind of work we're gonna have to do to prepare, this is the kind of expectations, this is the kind of knowledge that you're gonna have, and then based on that board discussion, you could come up with what you believe is a reasonable.
So
Let me
that,
help
that
you,
means
Rod.
every committee we'd have to have a discussion ahead of time for every committee we have to determine how much complexity for every meeting we have.
Okay, let me help you with that. Every year, Oxford Township presents committee pay, proposed committee pay to this board. And in there is every commission and committee, what members pay on it. When we vote to approve that, we are saying that complexity gives us this rate. At that time, before the November vote, hopefully you might come in and say, let me see that, and I'll show you exactly what we're proposing for that committee rate.
And then as the time progresses, because when the committee is set, it should have milestones, reporting back, what you're gonna report on, what the expected deliverables are. If it proves to be more cumbersome or more complex, there's an opportunity for the board to revisit and say, well, we need to readjust.
This
That's an opportunity that the board would have at its discretion. to
The
choose to do
second
that.
change we're gonna do after tonight is we're gonna require committee reports monthly. Currently, committee reports are sent out quarterly and included in the consent agenda packet. Now, we can start off by having monthly reports from the committee and putting them in the consent agenda packet, and you can read it, or we can have it verbally reported out at the board by the committee members. This way we know that committees are actually working, and you'll see the committees that have worked, like tonight, you have 3 safety pack items on there. That committee has been working. Okay, our report out tonight is, you're gonna look at a first ordinance, you're gonna look at a bid acceptance, what's the other one?
Millage.
Millage. So, that's a report in a sense, but it's not. A report said, we did this, this, and this. So, do we need to do it monthly? I think so. I think it keeps us all on our toes. I think it justifies the amount that we compensate committee members for. Some committees meet more often, and we need to say, well, how many times did the Water and Sewer Committee meet? Well, we met once, but it was only for 4 hours. Most committee meetings might be an hour. We have to report out on that to make good decisions on the compensation for committee attendance and work.
So the 2 takeaways from your comments are, one is monthly reporting, which I think makes sense. Secondly, we would, before the November meeting, decide on the complexity and commitment for every committee.
And that complexity has been set in eons ago. Probably every year we look at it and bump it up $5 or something like that.
Well, and we went to doubling it if you go over 4 hours.
Correct.
The article, that.
So the complexity is considered,
That was a complexity issue.
yeah,
You know, negotiations were taking 8, 9 hours a day.
yep. Clerk Wright,
Yeah, as you know, the board approved this in 2022 to go to quarterly committee meeting reports, and it's been very sporadic of getting those reports from some of the committees. So I think this is a great idea. It creates accountability, but also we need to set the protocol of who is doing the report on behalf of the committee. So I think this is well overdue to make the board accountable for their actions of what they serve on, and also a communication out to the public of which we serve.
duly noted. Trustee Nold,
I'll take over with Mr. Wright's comment. We have, each committee has a chair. The chair should be responsible for reporting back to the board on a monthly basis. And thinking through that very quickly, there's some committees that have no activity because election committee doesn't have obligations every month or so that would probably be nothing to report, correct?
Correct.
So the other part of the issue I'd like to have comment, what other communities use this type of plan where they use a complexity factor in their community? Do you have any experience with that?
this has been going on for 15 years. Every November, it was earlier than that, we let the cat out of the bag, but now its evaluations are based on performance. Our committees are then just looked at in a sense, hey, it's always been this, we always pay this.
The other comment I'd like to make is that if we make a new committee mid-year, there has to be a great deal of thought to that, of what that committee's responsibilities are, what the objectives would be back to the board on a reporting basis if we're required to report on a monthly basis.
Yes,
So our committees, in a sense, are becoming more and more visible and more important for feedback to the board.
there's a lot of work that gets done in committee, and this board should take recommendations from those committees and value them either to A or nay when it comes to voting. And respect of the committee work is, in essence, reading what the monthly report will show you. Trustee Charles.
Two comments to that point you just made there. I would agree with what you said about committees. I've been part of other municipality meetings, et cetera, council meetings, et cetera, different townships, and sometimes they can drag on forever because in effect they do their committee meeting at their board meeting. So this is a great idea to do it committees, and the board normally takes recommendations of the committee.
Okay.
So I like that thought. Second one, on the township other statutory body, that comment you have up there. You put $125 on $35. Why don't you just make it simple, $130 instead of, it seems kind of Mickey Mouse.
So that was just a demonstration of your lowest pay for a committee is 125, the highest was 300. So at the time the committee is formed, you would be able to say, okay, attendance in a meeting is 125 for the, and let's say you had a social committee, maybe you get nothing for that one, but you have, you know, a community safety enhancement committee, and you say, okay, that one we're gonna make 150 per meeting. And then the single hauler, we're getting 200 a meeting for that, whatever it is. That's what that range is there for. It's because we used your existing. You're already sort of using
We took it for granted the history of the committee and the pay of that committee. And now what we're saying is we have to look at these committees and the work product that they present to us and determine the compensation based on the complexity of that committee's work. Come to a water and sewer committee and talk about the hundreds of millions of dollars in sewer repairs all the way down to that Connor treatment plant. We have our engineer going to 5-6 meetings a year on the Oakland County Interceptor. These things bang on us with complexity that most people don't understand. And by the time you deep dive into that, it's horrendous the amount of time it takes in that committee and outside of the committee. Treasurer Farrar, you've been holding your hand up for a while, I'm sorry.
It's a question for you. I know some communities do a yearly stipend. Have you looked at that as maybe, let's say give trustees $2,000 a year and covers everything? What's the merits of that?
That's an option, and we probably look at that more like sort of as a salary. It's,
You know, and I'll give you an answer to that, Joe. The Gypsy Moth Committee, how many times did they meet? 6, maybe?
Or at least, I mean.
This year to last year was different.
Okay, but 6 years. How do you say, all right, if I give you a salary for the year trustee, $3,000, and you go to 6 meetings, and then someone down here goes to 12 meetings, the fair and equitable way is in paying per meeting and the work product from that meeting. If I peanut butter a salary across everybody, why would I want to be on a committee? Why would I want to engage? Why would I want to bring knowledge? Why would I want to work with our attorneys or our fire chief and sit through negotiations? You know, that takes it away from the wage. And we talked about, you know, like Margie, how many hours did you spend on the union negotiations? Probably 60?
Way more than that.
Okay, 60 hours, and you make $135 per committee meeting. So, or would you make $2,000 in a salary? So we weigh it out, and per meeting is probably the fairest to the township, fairest to the people that sit on the committees.
I have another question then. So like SEMCOG, for example, as an alternate delegate, and I enjoy those meetings, and I give feedback, which I hope people appreciate and read.
Yes.
They have meetings coming out their ears.
Yes.
And we all get the emails from them. So maybe for myself, because I enjoy them, I hope there's some value to the township when I go to these meetings. How do we do that as far as my attendance or Joe's attendance at these meetings? Because they have quite a few of them.
You know,
Literally every week, there's at least one.
part of setting up the committee, we set those guidelines in the front, and it's a good question, because as a member, as a trustee, I did the Oakland County chapter of the Michigan Townships Association. I did the Village Planning Commission. I did the Township Planning. I did the Board of Trustees. All things, you could have 10 meetings a week. Is this a viable meeting for you to attend? Some of that is internal intestinal fortitude to say, no, I go to that for my own, it's my statutory duty, but I don't want you going there, learning something, bringing something valuable back and not being compensated for it. John worked his bottom off on the single hauler, and quite frankly, he wasn't, it was all statutory duties, and in order for him to be compensated for that, we would have had to have the policy in place. We would have to say, this board approves John working 24 hours to bring this work product back outside a committee.
for some of the committees that you already have established and things like that, you could, you know, when you go to set the new salary, we would want to make sure that we had a template for all the questions that you asked, expected number, expected percentage to attend, expected length, and then you could set there and set, you know, for an example like that, you would be set up a max. You can go to this many and then we reevaluate to see if it's valuable, if we want you to continue. You have discretion to fully set that up. And to the prior point about the salary, the other part of that that makes it less favorable to every member of the board is that trustees have to have the same salary. You can't have a tenured trustee that has $10,000 and a newbie that, you know, gets $2,000. The trustee salary would be the same for everyone. So if you have a very active trustee that's on a lot of committees and you don't opt in the per meeting pay as well, you might, you know, make 10 cents an hour while somebody else is making $200 an hour because they only go to one. So that's the other reason we would, the committee sort of recommended looking at the per pay as opposed to a salary.
The biggest part of these committee meetings is statutory work on the committee, number one. The thing that we are charged with is integrity. I'm not going to 32 SEMCOG meetings because I need $3,200. I'm going to these SEMCOG meetings because I'm bringing valuable information back for our community. I'm not holding a safety path meeting 3 times a month and have no output. It's our personal integrity that should tell us, look, guys, gals, it's us working for the community. If we're here for the money, I know I'm in the wrong place. So, Trustee Noel, you have one more question?
Just a point, all this ends up at the, reporting goes to the clerk's office. And I
Yes,
think some thought needs to be given to a standardized reporting method that when the clerk's office receives end of month work, so to speak, that it can go through their office in a fashion that simplifies and keeps things easy for them to work with.
You could build that
Because
into
this
your
could get very-
revised policy.
do you mean
This
as
could-
far as compensation to each person?
No, as far as the reporting of
Oh, yes,
activities.
yes.
It can get rather difficult sometimes, at least on my part, keeping track of all those meetings. And then I'm sure the way I turn it in might be different from the way Trustee Payne would turn it in. So
That's a
some-
great point, so shoring up those policies about how,
Yes.
when, and then the monthly reporting as well as the monthly reconciliation of payments, that could all tie in together very nicely the way you're describing.
Try not to make more work to make less work.
Right, exactly.
Believe me, we're not gonna be in this salary compensation meeting after January because we have to propose evaluation appraisal raises for 2024 in our November meeting. So we'll have a couple more meetings. We'll set the policy on pay for outside work and the statutory duties. We'll have some more language in there. After that, the salary compensation committee meeting might not meet until the next question comes up 8 months from now. So that's the kind of thing that Clerk Wright and Susan McCall watch and report out to us to make sure we're doing the right thing. That's the stopgap, if you will. All right, if there's no more questions, thank you,
You're most welcome.
and we have work to do. That also includes updating our employee handbook. So we'll have all that at a future board meeting. All right, unfinished business. Here's the best one. Item 11B. All 4 of us ought to just stand at the podium here for the North Area Sanitary Sewer Bid Award. I'm gonna ask Jim to come up. And if you will, just give us a brief synopsis, if you will.
Brief synopsis.
How long did it take?
I don't know how we can be brief on this project, seems like it's been going on for years, but, yeah, you should have my report. It's dated September 7th, for this project right here, which is a new 18-inch sanitary sewer line. I'm sure you're all very aware of it, extending essentially, from the village limits up to Dunlap Road. We put that out for bids, we finally got all of our permits with MDOT, and we did receive 5 bids. Those bids range from roughly 2.9 million to 3.9 million. The low bid was submitted by Deponio Contracting. We were able to get references from them. We looked at their subcontractors, and they appear to be able to do the work. Done lots of jobs like this. They've been around for a very long time. And so on that basis, we would have no objection to the board's, I guess, consideration of awarding a contract to Deponio Contracting.
When we first started off with an estimate, what was the estimate?
I want to say it's
2.5?
about 2.5 million.
Yeah, it came in at 2.9 because of the dragging out from MDOT on the permitting of the bore. It raised our cost almost $400,000.
So, but with that, before we award anything, I think based on the timeline, which is the next one, I don't know that we want to actually award the contract to Deponio at this time. I think we want to make sure that the special assessment goes through before you actually award the contract. And again, maybe Ms. Ellis could speak to that with regards to the timeline that's coming up.
So upon acceptance of the North Area Sanitary.
Correct, just my initial thoughts are, we don't want to award a contract, we want to enter into a contract with a contractor, and then something fall apart with the SAD, and then we'll still have a contractor on the hook with them. But again, that's that's legal expertise there, that's my opinion. And I believe that that fits in with the timeline, which is the next one on the agenda. So I don't know how you want to tie these two together.
Upon acceptance of the, go ahead.
I can speak to that. So next meeting, the supervisor's going to report on your special assessment role, which he's going to prepare based upon this recommendation from your engineer as to the bid. At your next meeting, you'll have a resolution before you to move forward with your public hearing. At that point, it would be appropriate to tentatively approve the bid conditioned upon the special assessment role being approved by the Board of Trustees at your November meeting.
I have a
So,
question for Jim.
oh, I'm sorry, yes, trustee Day.
So if we wait a month or possibly two, is that price locked in at 2.9?
Yes, when we put the bids together, it was clear that the bids were to be held for 180 days.
Okay, that's all.
So we have up until that time to actually issue a notice to proceed to a contractor.
Okay.
So what, if you would please, it would be wise not to award the bid tonight?
Correct. So what you're doing tonight is considering your engineer's recommendation. You can accept his recommendation, and next meeting, basically you'll be reviewing the assessment role, and at that time you can tentatively approve the bid. We'll also be setting the hearing to approve the special assessment role for your November meeting, and that will give you time before December when your board of review meets to put it on your tax rolls.
Thank you. I know this is wearing us all out because we've been all working on it very hard. So would I table this, knowing that the next meeting, we are going to talk about this bid in the role assessment, or would I postpone it?
If you were going to pick it up off the table at a specified date, you would postpone.
Okay,
You postpone to a specific date, table if you don't know when you're gonna pick it up.
I make a recommendation, we postpone this until the October 10th Township Board meeting.
Second.
11th? I went to look at my calendar, I have corrected myself to October 11th.
Second.
I have a motion to postpone till October 11th, and I have a second by trustee Payne. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Payne? Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Supervisor Curtis?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, item 11C, North Area Sanitary Sewer Special Assessment District Timeline. Who wants to talk about this? You know, I'm looking at you. Thank you, Brittany.
Yes, so I went over this a little bit in your earlier discussion regarding your contractor. So this is the most aggressive timeline that we can pursue under state law that we put together. As we discussed at your next meeting, which is October 11th, your supervisor is going to report the special assessment role based on the bid that you have been presented with tonight by your engineer. At that time, you will move to accept the special assessment role. It will then go to the clerk and will be available for review by the public until your November meeting. At your November meeting, we're going to have your second hearing of the SAD on your special assessment role. At that time, the public will be able to appear and object, if that's their prerogative, to your proposed SAD. After the close of that hearing, it will be time for the board to make a determination on whether you want to approve the special assessment role as presented. Following that, there's some dates that are going to come up that you need to work out with your bond counsel, which we've discussed, and it's my understanding that you have been in contact with your bond counsel, and those dates are still TBD.
We are working, Clerk Wright and I have talked with Paul Stauder. Jim has been engaged. Danielle is working on it also. I know you're going to be engaged in it. We're talking about inclusivity of all the expenses so we get a total to charge the SAD. We've talked to Tom Collis from our bond counsel to make sure we're moving in the right direction. and Paul Stoddard is working to get the best price on the bond for us. So, one item, we want to continue to move fast with this, because as I indicated, in 6 months, our cost went up almost $500,000 in increase in material and labors based on engineering estimates. This dragging of the feet of MDOT cost us that much money. So the longer we wait, the harder these contractors are to line up, the harder it is to get the material, and the permitting is all done right now, and we are on a timeline with permits. They're only good for a year, and we have a lot of work to do to make this schedule. I'm even up for suggesting a special meeting, should we get things done in time, and move forward with this timeline. Are there any questions on the timeline? Seeing none, we'll get off that. Item 11D, Lakeville Road Safety Path Bid Award. Chairman Ferrari.
Board members of Safety Path Committee has been looking at the Lakeville Road Safety Path. At the board's request, we sent that out for bids. We got a low bid from Jacklin Contracting to get that completed yet this year. I move to award the Lakeville Road Safety Path project to Jacklin Contracting LLC. The base bid price of $147,535. This $147,535 amount to be expensed to Safety Path Fund 297.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Payne.
No.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Board members, item 11E, Office Operations Liaison. Board members, we brought this from the Compensation Committee to the last meeting. It was voted down because we had some conflicts of what the Compensation Committee, this thing's too biggest guy is small. The Compensation Committee was charged with doing compensation review, but in our review, we found that a lot of operations stuff was not being done by the right person as we're growing, not by the right person, but by the appropriate individuals. As we move forward, we kept identifying things like committee report outs, the budgeting for sewer increases, water rate billing, water rate questions from our organization, and it was offered up to have an office operation liaison take the work from Clerk Wright, Treasurer Ferrari, some from myself, some from other areas of the township that aren't being done, and form a new position in the township. So I would move to approve the office operations liaison job description and authorize Supervisor Jack Curtis to recruit, hire, and fill the office operation liaison position at a salary range between $60,000 to $75,000, depending on experience and qualification, and to include all benefits afforded to a full-time Oxford Township employee.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Supervisor Curtis. I have a second by Trustee Colvin. Are there any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
No.
Trustee Charles.
No.
Clerk Wright, yes. Let's see, Trustee Noel.
No.
Treasurer Ferrari.
No.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
Okay, the motion fails.
Okay. Treasurer Ferrari, you're gonna be busy. Item 12A, new business, safety path millage ballot language.
Board members are looking at putting some safety path millage ballot in our November election. We had the attorney's office draft everything, so we're looking for board approval to put that on November 2024 general election ballot. It'll be half a mil for like 10 years.
Questions? Yes, sir, Clerk Wright.
I contacted Oakland County Elections this morning, wanted to know whether or not this is early to put a ballot language question on the ballot 14 months before an election. And they didn't seem to have a problem with it, but the problem I have is that, is the $482,649.62 going to be the same ballot language when it gets ready to be submitted for approval on the, I shouldn't say approval, because if you approve this, this is what you're approving tonight to go on the ballot in 2024. So if that number changes, I would probably request the board to hold off instead of having to do this twice to propose a safety path millage. But if you want to move forward to see if the flavor of the board is to move forward, then you take your vote.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to adopt the Charter Township of Oxford Safety Path Millage Resolution as presented, attaches the appendix to the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Payne. Clerk Wright, you have a question?
Just in the body of the memo, these figures may change as we get closer to the election and have preliminary 2024 taxable value calculations. So my question is, are the numbers going to change?
They may when that time gets closer.
And the odds are of that changing?
Pretty strong swell values for 2024 available now. This at least starts the ball rolling. We always come back to the board and change one number in the resolution. So the 482 would be blank. And I talked to Brittany about all that and they were comfortable with it.
Trustee Noel?
That was my question. Is this a good business practice to do it 14 months ahead of time?
Find out.
We got
Trustee
fire-
Payne?
I think the committee's notion was we need to know where we stand with the board to see if we have the support to go forth with a safety path millage for our planning purposes. If we think that this is something we're going to have for future, that it's even possible that we could conceivably have a millage. We wanted to know if we have the support of the board.
Can we,
I don't have an answer for you, but I think the vote will tell you.
Exactly, and that's why we're doing
We got
this.
fire and police coming right after this.
Yep.
no, that's my question,
Trustee
basically,
Charles.
is it necessary to have a vote on a potential millage if you're just looking for opinions?
If you vote yes for this, you're gonna have a safety path millage.
Exactly.
With a specific dollar amount, though. There's
That
the
can be
law.
changed.
That
That
can
the
be
dollar
changed.
will change. Any other questions? Roll call.
Trustee Colvin?
No.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
No.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes?
Clerk Wright? No. Trustee Charles?
No.
And Supervisor Curtis?
No. Item 12B, schedule the first reading of ordinance 117.001, safety paths and sidewalks.
Board members, we'd like to start revising our safety path ordinance. Per our policy, we have to have a first reading. So this would start that ball rolling. I'll make a motion to authorize the setting of a first reading of the proposed changes. Chapter 42, streets, sidewalks, and other public places. Article 3, safety paths and sidewalks, i.e. the safety path ordinance, at the October 11, 2023 Oxford Township Board of Trustees meeting.
Second?
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Good for bringing this out like this. We all have approximately 30 days to read it because it's in your packet tonight. So the first reading, if it passes, we will have plenty of time to review it. So is there any other questions? Roll call.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Clerk Wright? Yes. Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis?
Yes.
Can I just do a quick backseat for 12A? Does it mean that the board does not want a safety path millage? They don't like the language.
It says a safety path millage ballot language.
So,
I like it.
so it's done.
Yep,
So it won't be on the ballot in 2024.
that's what I see,
Okay, so nothing to do with the dollar amount, they just don't want it on the ballot.
unless you bring it back up again.
No, okay. I just thought, when I go back to my committee,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to deal with it.
Okay. We have a first reading next month, and put that on the list. I'm trying to be real good at adding things so we don't have amended agendas, because we have one tonight, first reading. Okay, item 12C, roof repair bid. The capital improvement team met, and at the direction, we got a review of the roof on the township building. We had it inspected by Royal Roofing. In your packet tonight, Royal Roofing put out a very comprehensive, detailed note about the roof, finding some areas that are needed dramatically, some you could postpone, some you could patch, but most of all, they're saying we need a new roof. Royal did include a cost to repair all 3 sections of the roof on the township building, but according to our procurement policy, we have to send it out to bid. So with this proposal, we're saying that we want to go out to bid for a qualified contractor to install a new roof. We'll have to run the bidding process and come up with a appropriate bidder. Any questions?
Are you in agreement? Are you in agreement?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
What
I know you probably met with Dan and talked about it, yeah.
we've talked to Joe, the guy that came out, went up on the roof, he and his apprentice, and they walked around and said, you can tar that, but you have another 3 years on the rest of the roof. So, or you can flash this, and he also pointed out some other problems on the building. Part of this building is, 15 years old, part of it's 7 years old, part of it's been repaired. So, Clerk Wright,
Will there be consideration of a metal roof?
metal roof is very expensive, and we, if you want it, put it in the motion.
What do you mean by expensive compared to 100,000?
3 times that.
I move to authorize the capital improvement committee in consultation with the township attorney to issue a request for proposal for selection of a qualified contractor, install a new roof to the township hall, and make any necessary repairs. Cost of the project is not to exceed $100,000, is to be expensed to account number 101-265-976.000, additions and improvements.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes, and Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Item 12D, 2023 Parks and Recreation Debt Millage Rate Approval. Treasurer Ferrari?
Board members did our calculation for the bond debt for the parks improvements. This year, we're looking at only 11.19 of a mil. National, the voters approved up to, I think it was 0.3 of a mil. So each year, as we've grown, we're paying less and less for it. I move to set the Parks and Recreation 2020 debt millage rate at 0.1900 of a mil, authorized to be placed on the December 2023 tax roll.
I'll second that.
Okay, did I hear the date right?
Yeah, December 23. So we have that
Okay.
tax roll.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Charles. Are there any questions? Trustee Noel?
I spent a little time looking through that. I appreciate the way that was put together. I truly appreciate the fact that the rate has gone down when we could have done some other things with that rate. So thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis?
2023, I'm sorry. Checking a vote, sorry.
No.
Oh, you gotta vote on this one, sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
No, but it's 2023 millages, not 2024.
Tax rate.
Yeah, but it's 2023.
Okay. Item 12E, 2023 tax rate request. L404029 approval. Board members, we have to approve property tax levied on real property and report to the county by September 30th. And we are here at September 13th, so this board meeting is when we normally do the tax.
I move the following millage rates to be levied and collected December 1 of 2023. The general property tax on all real and personal property, the township of Ox, within the township, are the current tax roll, an allocated millage of 0.8842 of a mill for township operations. Voter authorized millage of 0.9698 of a mill for parks and recreation, 3.8091 mills for police contracting, unincorporated portion of the township only, 4.3997 mills for fire operations, EMS advanced life support, 0.6271 of a mill, and 0.6691 of a mill for Oxford Public Library, 0.000 mills for North Oakland Transportation Authority, and 0.1900 of a mill for Parks and Recreation bond debt.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Payne. Are there any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Payne,
Yes.
trustee Colvin,
Yes.
trustee Charles,
Yes.
trustee Noel,
Yes.
treasurer Ferrari,
Yes.
clerk Wright, yes, and supervisor Curtis.
No. Item 12F, budget approvals.
I move to approve the recommended 2024 general fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $4,801,627.77 based on the property tax millage rate to be levied at 0.8842 mils and attached as spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Payne. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Colvin,
Yes.
trustee Payne,
Yes.
trustee Noel,
Yes.
treasurer Ferrari,
Yes.
clerk Wright, yes, trustee Charles,
Yes.
supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2024 road fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $200,700 attached as spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Payne. Any questions? Seeing none? Item,
We got to vote on it.
oh yes, I said yes. I thought I did.
No, we got to vote on
We
it,
all did.
right?
We all did.
Did we already vote on vote?
No.
No.
Oh, I didn't vote on it. Maybe I missed it.
Roll call.
Trustee Payne,
Yes.
trustee Noel,
Yes.
treasurer Ferrari,
Yes.
clerk Wright, yes, trustee Charles,
Yes.
trustee
Is it-
Colvin,
Yes.
It's a shirt you're
and
wearing.
supervisor Curtis.
Yes, this green shirt is screwing me up. Making me into an imbecile.
I for the recommended 2024 fire department fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $7,858,499.52 based on the property tax mills rate to be levied at 4.3997 mils. Attached a spreadsheet as appendix to the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Payne. Are there any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Noel,
Yes.
treasurer Ferrari,
Yes.
clerk Wright, yes, trustee Charles,
Yes.
trustee Colvin,
Yes.
trustee Payne,
Yes.
and supervisor Curtis.
Yes, thank you, Treasurer Ferrari.
You're welcome. I move to approve the recommended 2024 police contracting fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $5,640,200 based on the property tax mills rate to be levied at 3.8091 mils. Attached a spreadsheet as appendix to the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Treasurer Ferrari,
Yes.
clerk Wright, yes, trustee Charles,
Yes.
trustee Payne,
Yes.
trustee Colvin,
Yes.
trustee Noel,
Yes.
and supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2024 Parks and Recreation Fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $1,750,000 based on a property tax mills rate to be levied at 0.9698 mils. Attached a spreadsheet as appendix to the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Payne. Any questions? Seeing none? Roll call.
Clerk Wright, yes, trustee Charles,
Yes.
trustee Colvin,
Yes.
trustee Payne,
Yes.
trustee Noel,
Yes.
treasurer Ferrari,
Yes.
supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2024 cemetery maintenance fund budget with the revenues and expenditures balancing at $400,000. Attached a spreadsheet as appendix to the minutes.
Second.
A motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by trustee Payne. Are there any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes, and Supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2024 telecommunications fund budget. The revenues and expenditures balancing at $15,011 and attached to spreadsheet as appendix to the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Fry, a second by trustee Payne. Any questions? I thought I saw a hand go up. That was, whoa. Roll call?
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2024 building department fund budget. The revenues and expenditures balancing at $432,000 attached to spreadsheet as appendix to the minutes.
Second.
A motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by trustee Payne. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call?
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2024 cable TV fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $396,370 attached to spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by trustee Noel, or trustee Charles, I'm sorry. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call?
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2024 safety path fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $1,127,725 attached to spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by trustee Noel. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call?
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2024 Poly and Trailway Management Council fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $80,000 attached to spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by trustee Noel. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call?
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
And Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I voted twice on that.
You did.
I
Seems to wait.
Put them on the election committee.
I move to approve, well, that green shoe must be going over there.
It's bleeding over, I'm sorry.
I move to approve the recommended 2024 North Oakland Transportation Authority budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $6,599,854 and to spread the property tax millage rate to be levied at 0.000 mils attached to spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by trustee Colvin, and 0.000 mils. Because of the RTA millage that was levied by the county, we are not, and this is the record recording, we are not adding the 0.25 that we are authorized to collect up to. Motion, I called that. Call the roll, please.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2024 Oxford Public Library budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $1,930,001.00 based on the property tax millage rate to be levied at 0.6271 mils and 0.6691 mils equal to 1.2962 mils attached to spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second.
Uh-oh. I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by two trustees. I'll give this one to Noel, he was louder. Are there any questions?
Should we vote on that?
Roll call?
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Board members, 12G item, annual MERS extra compensation contribution from the general fund to the fire MERS and police MERS that we are liable for.
Board members, as you know, Supervisor Curtis has us doing an allocation next year to kind of get our MERS obligation taken care of with the fire department. We still have this old motion on the books, so we probably want to take care of that for this year so that it is not going to continue once we're fully funded next year. I make a motion of the Oxford Township Board of Trustees negates its January 13th, 2016 MERS pension funding motion of contributing $12,100 from the general fund to the Oxford Fire Department, as it will be funded in the highest MERS category in the very near future. The last year of this extra funding allocation, we budget year 2022.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Okay, I'm gonna go with the first hand I saw. Clerk Wright?
Yeah, just a clarification on the motion. Usually you'll rescind the motion versus negating it. Because it's previously on the books.
You didn't catch that one.
And then,
I didn't catch it either.
sorry.
So we vote this one down and then reread the motion,
I
rescind?
don't know that it really makes a difference in the language, negate, rescind.
Like rearranging chairs. to
Negate
cut
or
together.
rescind?
When negates means it never existed, rescind means you pull it back.
Go with rescind. Rescind is fine.
Does negate work or no?
Well, your trustee, Rod Charles, just gave a great definition as to why rescind
So
will
then you
work.
vote no on this one and change the negate to rescind.
Rescind.
Roll call?
Trustee Colvin,
No,
trustee Payne,
No,
trustee Noel,
No.
treasurer Ferrari,
No.
clerk Wright, no. Trustee Charles,
No.
supervisor Curtis.
No.
I make a motion that the Oxford Township Board of Trustees rescinds its January 13th, 2016 MERS pension funding motion of contributing $12,100 from the general fund to the Oxford Fire Department, as we will be funded in the highest MERS category in the very near future. The last year of this extra funding allocation, we budgeted in 2022.
second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Payne. Are there any questions? She's getting louder, John. Seeing none, roll call?
Clerk Wright, yes. Treasurer Ferrari,
Yes.
trustee Colvin,
yes.
trustee Charles,
Yes.
trustee Noel, trustee Payne,
Yes.
and supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Board members, I just want to say, we did work with RANA, and we are moving $175,000 to the MERS compensation fund for 2024. RANA tells us that will put us above the 90%, and that is a range that graded at 90% is graded the same as 100% in MERS contribution funding for the year. Okay, 12H, 2022-2023 EDIP grant funding.
Board members, every year we get our EVIP funds. We finished getting our last payment in August. Each year we spread that amongst other taxing units, and this year I'm going to recommend the same. I would like to make a motion to authorize Treasurer Joseph G. Ferrari sign a one-year subscription contract invoice with Unitrix LLC of $3,711.00 in order to meet the state of Michigan reporting requirements to secure economic vitality incentive program EVIP funding. It's further understood that the $3,711 fee be subtracted from the $65,333 EVIP grant, leaving $56,715 to be dispersed to the Oxford Township local taxing units based on 2022 township millage rates and $4,907 to be designated to the Oxford Township Fire Fund to help pay its outstanding pension obligations.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Payne. Clerk Wright, your hand went up like a rocket.
It did, because on this, I don't know a whole lot about it. I thank you, Treasurer Ferrari, for doing this. But my concern is that it says retirement pension fund system underfunded. The fire department is not underfunded because by statute, they're over 60% funded per what does it say, MCL 202 of 2017, section 38.2805, section 5, subsection B. So my thinking is that, I'm not opposed to the money's going there, but are there other taxing entities that have the same type of retirement system, that they could use some of that money as well. I don't know the answer to that.
Only thing I know is fire. I don't wanna get the state looking at our funding because the way they give us that money is saying it has to be allocated that way. Whether they interpret it, our interpretation could be totally different.
So
I agree
since-
with Chad. 90%'s 100, they may look at it and say, it's not 100. For $4,900, I don't wanna get their ire.
No, but you want it to be right.
So what you're doing is you're allocating funds to the local government agencies that have millage rates.
Correct.
Since the fire department has a millage, they are getting 4,000.
So they're getting their millage, and this is for their pension reduction.
So did you take that much from the other?
Nope, I took that right off the top.
So you did take it away from everybody else.
Yep. That's been going on the last 8 years. 8 years, I think now.
Okay. So you're right.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but that's my ignorance too, not following this closer.
I know, mine too.
Just my thinking too is that, I did see the bill already to be paid, and we have not approved that in the packet. So, I don't know if that's the same protocol we're gonna follow going forward, but, I think if that's the bill, the board should approve that before it goes for payment.
It was approved on the bill run.
It was approved in the
Consent
consent
agenda.
agenda.
Is it okay? All right, I must have missed that.
Yes.
My apologies on that.
Now, my question is, that $4,000 is minuscule. By the time you go back and put it in the 65 and break it out, this could be the last year you're allocating special monies to the MERS fund.
Correct.
Okay,
Because you'll have the 175 in, I can justify saying I'm 100% funded.
right. You didn't know that when this EVIP
And this is
funding came out.
2022, 2023, but not 2024 money.
Right,
I
got
won't
it.
be funded till
I understand it.
So I guess my question too is, going forward, will it be the same process?
No.
we
Going
won't have to
forward,
fund that anymore.
23, you won't have to fund the
So
23
you won't break that money
EVIP
out?
money in 24 to the fire fund.
So you won't break the money out then?
I don't have to.
You don't have to, yes, you're
Jack's got
correct.
175 going in our 2024 budget.
Right. We're trying to make the MERS whole, we're basing it on RENA. This is 2022 money, so it can go in there based on the motion. And then 23 monies, after we get the fund over the 90 into RENA accepting it, that way, when we do this next year, there, you won't see the call out for $4,900 to be designated.
Correct.
Correct?
So that is-
Understood?
Any pension plan that's 90% funded is exemplary. And
Yes.
most of them don't even come close to that.
Yes. By consent, Oxford Township has to pay for the old police and fire of the village and the township for their pension fund. This board has worked diligently over the past 6 years, 8 years. It was low, it was below 70. It was in the 60s.
You know.
So we've worked hard to get it up there, plus the interest rates have been in our favor. The market's been good, so we've gotten it well over 90.
Anyone over 80 is considered good in the marketplace, so
Right.
we're way above average.
Yes. So with that, I'll call the roll.
Clerk Wright, yes. Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel? Yes. Supervisor Curtis?
Yes. Board members, we're gonna go to 12I, part-time wage rates. Curtis, it says when the township board eliminated grade and step for salaries and wages, there was no wage established for part-time employees. We have 2 approved part-time employee positions, one in the building department for a school intern, and one during election time in the clerk's department. Those wage rates were not brought in front of the board, so tonight we are bringing them in front of the board. So I would move to approve the following wage rates for the approved part-time employees effective immediately. $15 an hour per starting wage, $17.50 per hour for short-term less than 90 days of employment, part-time employees to be approved by part-time employees direct supervisor, $20 per hour for a long-term greater than 90 days of employment, part-time employees to be approved by the part-time employees direct supervisor.
I will second that.
Motion by Supervisor Curtis, second by Treasurer Ferrari. Questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Noel? Yes. Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Boy, we went through a lot of stuff here.
Really?
Yeah.
Amen. Board members, item 12J, which we added to the amended agenda, the master plan steering committee pay. At our last special meeting with the Planning Commission, ZBA, and Township Board, we approved the adoption of the master plan, but in that master plan, it called for a steering committee, and the steering committee is to be made up by residents. We have one here tonight, and formally, the consultant indicates that we should compensate any member of the steering committee like we do any committee in the township. You can either do it at the end or you can do it per attendance. And acting on the advice of the Carlisle Wortman, I would move to approve the compensation in the amount of $140 per attended meeting for the residents selected to work on the township master plan. All charges to be charged to account number 101-701-801.001, Planner Professional Services Master Plan.
Second.
Mr. Noel.
He seconded.
Second.
Okay, thank you. There you go.
This is really-
Motion by Supervisor Curtis, second by Trustee Noel. Is there any questions? Yes, Clerk Wright.
Is there a amount of people that will be, residents that will be sitting on this? Will it be, I guess two questions. Will there be business people on it or just residents?
There's residents, there's retired, there's men, there's women, there's people that own businesses. Yes, through the community, people have stood up.
Okay, do we approve that group?
Do we approve it? No, the committee can approve the group. It's a function of the planning commission and a function of the master plan operation to form the steering committee. But anytime we spend money or compensate someone, we have to have this board's approval. So with that motion, I'll call the roll.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis?
Yes. Item 13, we took nothing out of the consent. Now, item 14, public comment.
I forgot a couple of things earlier, and first and foremost, I appreciate and thank you for each time you make that contribution to that MERS fund, that you clarify and let people know that it is not related to the fire department, and just that it falls into our account because of the MERS system and it has nothing to do with us. And I appreciate that, so that people don't think that we've mismanaged our funds or something along those lines. It is greatly appreciated. And the second thing I forgot to tell you, because we just got notice this afternoon and a couple things happened and I slipped my mind. We did get update from our insurance company. I mentioned last month the damage that both fire stations and the garage at behind Station 1 sustained as a result of that last storm with all the hail and the doors. It was all completely approved for repair and replacement at both stations, in excess of about $270,000,
Wow.
which we have to pay a $2,500 deductible. And we just got that word today. So that's one really big item that's coming off my capital improvement plan. That's gonna at least see us probably through a good 15 to 20 years on the roofs. So anyhow, I just wanted to pass that on.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Any other members of the public want to make a comment? Seeing none, Board of Trustees comments? I'll start with trustee Charles.
Just a reminder about the food truck thing we talked about and the single hauler. I have a question. I see that gentleman here from the Northeast Oakland Museum. Have we had any progress on that form for the donation we made?
Did we get that form?
I'll follow.
Ron asked me, I don't remember.
No, we have not got, you're next.
Curtis?
Do you have any more questions,
No, that's it.
comments?
Yeah, the form,
Right.
in response to that, the form has been provided. There are 3 other boxes to need to be checked off if they apply to fulfill that requirement to get the money distributed over to the Northeast Historical Society.
Okay.
A couple of other things, as far as MERS goes, a little tribute over to Trustee Payne, because he's been instrumental over the years to get contributions to bring the fund up to where it's at. The other item, referring back to the safety path millage, I'm not opposed to it. I think it's a great thing to at least send out to the residents, but I think the timing is a little bit premature, especially when the numbers are gonna change. So that's my thinking, my thought, and my vote.
Okay, Treasurer Ferrari.
Speaking about villages, we got police and fire coming in front of us. Do we hold off on those? That's the question I have on that. Because I know they're getting ready to come back to this board for an approval. So, I mean, what do we do on those
I
situations?
can answer your question. We are working on it. We are working on the proposed sheriff rates for the police millage, but we have an April deadline to turn it in. So our millage language would probably come here in January or February. And once that millage language is done, it will take into consideration the new costs or any costs that have increased to us and the number of years we want to go out and how many employees we want in the sheriff's department. So that'll come out January, February, but it has to be turned into the elections by April
For the August ballot.
for the August ballot.
That also runs, Jack, the same issues we have with safety path. You won't have the right numbers.
Now, we will have the right numbers in February or January.
We got March board review for 2024.
We'll be closer.
Gotta wait till after that, you're probably looking about.
Joe, we're gonna be way ahead of what you think we are. We're not gonna do something stupid.
We just gotta get those numbers though to make it, 'cause it's
We
gonna be
will,
the same thing.
we will have the numbers.
And also too, I looked at our website, I was wondering by chance if we should maybe look at maybe doing a rewrite, it's been a while since we've done that,
A rewrite.
of the website, maybe making it, looking at other communities, seeing maybe the things we can add, subtract. Just taking a look at it,
Okay,
that's all I got.
all right. Trustee Noel?
I'd like to reiterate Mr. Curtis's comments regarding the safety path millage. I'd like to see that come back. And again, I'd like to also say thank you to Margie for many years ago. She's held her ground well for the MERS contribution. I think we're in a really good spot.
Trustee Payne?
Nothing.
Trustee Colvin?
Thanks everyone for all your hard work. We got a lot done today.
You're welcome. I'll finish this up. I've had 2 meetings this week. We have businesses in town that have been awarded big contracts for business. We are working with the Michigan Economic Development Committee and the Oakland County Economic Development Committee to retain that business here in Oxford. The businesses have been courted by other states to leave. You don't hear about it on the news, but we have a very, very good business in town that was courted to go out of state, but they've been awarded $100 million in projects that they're gonna try to keep and stay here. The state and the county are helping us. We have another business that purchased another business, and instead of going to the bigger facility, they have bought land, and we are working with them to keep that business here in Oxford. So I've been in and out of the office the past 2 weeks working on real estate deals and retaining businesses through economic development. So it looks like we're gonna win, and that means a lot to Oxford. We talked a lot about the committee reports. There's gonna be a lot of changes. in reporting, demands on the people in the committee. We have statutory duties to perform in these committees, and I look forward to some changes and some new people to help on these committees. So with that, I'm finished. Item 16 is adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Colvin. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, stay here.